Welcome everybody to episode 12 of our adventures
in Middle-Earth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Episode 12. So what's been going on in the last couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long it's been since the last one?
Working on stuff, an army.
Yeah.
That I took to a tournament.
We did. We just went to a tournament yesterday.
Yep.
In Peterborough, Ontario, and it was called
Fly to Peterborough, you fools.
Yes, Fly to Peterborough, you fools. Chris O'Reilly and Travis Freeburn put it on.
Yep. Good tournament.
What was the name of the store that was in again?
Dueling Grounds.
Dueling Grounds in Peterborough. What did you think of the store?
Yeah, it was cool. They had tons of stuff, like all kinds of different games and.
Yeah, they had a good selection of stuff in there, and it was kind of different because it wasn't like a storefront store that was on the ground level, because it was in kind of like a Peterborough is a fairly large
shopping
town or city. Almost. Yeah, and it was on like their sort of old Main Street kind of thing, but it was on the third floor of the building that it was in. So
yeah, you went like up some stairs.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a walk into the store kind of thing.
It's almost like a like an office building.
Yeah. That
they had like an office turned into a store. It was still good though.
The thing that stood out though about the store was the gaming space, which was amazing. They had a huge gaming space with a lot of tables, and there was even another side room for. Yeah,
they had some tables set up there.
Yeah, you could separate. Like I think they had players in there playing cards while we were playing.
Yeah, it was a couple tables for us, but I guess enough people or. Not enough people showed up that we needed those. We still had 18 people there.
Yeah,
which was
18 players. Yeah, good turnout.
Yeah.
So we were at what, 700 points?
Yes.
And
no restrictions.
No restrictions. Yeah, yeah. So what did you take?
I took the army I've been working on for the last couple of weeks, which is I guess they call it the Legendary Legion Return of the King. I had who did I have? I had Aragorn and the King of the Dead, who are the two mandatory models, leading a bunch of guys, and then I had Legolas as well, with armor and the cloak, because I figured I'd have him sit back and shoot, and I didn't want him to be shot at.
Yeah.
Then each of those guys, like each of them, can lead Army of the Dead because of the special rule.
Yeah.
So Legolas had 2 Warriors of the Dead with shield, a Warrior of the Dead with spear and shield, and a Rider of the Dead. Aragorn was leading 4 Warriors of the Dead with spear and shield, 2 Warriors of the Dead with shield, and 2 Riders of the Dead.
Right on.
And then the King pretty much had the same thing. He had 4 spear shield guys, 2 shield guys, and a Rider.
Yeah.
So my army was kind of small for 700 points at 22 models, but yeah. I really like it.
Well, and we know because we not exclusively, but almost exclusively play match play.
Yes.
And mostly tournament stuff. So that's always in the back of our mind, like what is competitive, what is not competitive.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we're overtly competitive players, but we like to do a lot of, list analysis and trying to come up with the best lists and what combos are available and what are currently the strong lists out. And there's been a lot of new stuff coming out within the last 6 months, because of course the new rule book came out and everything's been rejigged and then Gondor
2
War.
different army. Well, I guess the Armies of the Hobbit book came out first, and then this Gondor War just came out. One thing with my list though is I definitely have to give Aragorn a cloak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even though
people picking on him,
the elven cloaks only block line of sight to him with intervening terrain. The one mission, there's one mission that it would have been crucial if I had a cloak on him and not Legolas.
Yeah.
Because of the points. So I don't know. It was one of those things that I learned. Yeah,
it was your first time playing the army, right?
So you gotta test it, but yeah, definitely from now on, I'm gonna have cloak on him. It's his only option because he comes with Andoril and he can't have armor or anything, so I have to give him the cloak from now on.
You think it's going to be a popular army just because of the availability of the Warriors of the Dead models? Because they were included in the box set?
A lot of people will probably.
And it's a good army.
You can buy the new 300s box and the Warriors of the Dead. The only thing is, I was lucky to have purchased Riders of the Dead at the right time.
Yeah.
And I already had it. King of...
Well, you were waiting for them to come back in stock.
Yeah, and
then
then as soon as
came back
they did,
in stock,
bam.
and you bought like 5 or 6, and then boom, out of stock almost right away.
And they've been out of stock for a long time, so I bought like their entire stock of them, I think. But yeah, like the King of the Dead, you can't get the banner model because it's not a model. You can convert it, and then the Riders of the Dead aren't around. Like they're all out of stock right now. So I think if anything, that'll keep people from doing it. But you can always convert models. So
yeah, I think if those models come back available, it will help. But even if not, I think it'll still be fairly popular because it's an effective army. The figures, the main core of the figures, are readily available right now because they were included in the box set, and they put out the plastic one of the 300s.
Yeah.
And they're fairly easy and quick to paint as well.
That's true.
Like they can be, depending on how much work you want to put into them. So I think we may see a fair bit of that army this year. But we'll see. For myself, I've been working on trying to paint my backlog, and I'm like really lazy at getting stuff done, and it takes a lot of motivation for me to paint my models. So one of the things that I've been working on is my metal orcs that I've had.
Okay.
I've had them for a long time. So I just decided, okay, these were the ones I was going to work on, just to clean them up and get them done. And then the closer we got to the tournament, the more I wanted to actually use them. Okay. And I one of my what do you call it? My yearly, what's that thing you do at New Year's where you make a resolution? Yeah. One of my kind of resolutions this year was that I was not going to paint figures for tournaments. Yeah. I was going to try to use what I already had. I started trying to paint a figure for this tournament and I couldn't get it done. But I did end up playing an army that I've never played before, and it was Angmar. Okay. Yeah. And so I was trying to get my Berdur painted and a Wild Warg Chieftain painted, both of which models I had still for years and never did anything with. So they're kind of being assembled and put on bases and that, but I stopped trying to get them done, and I just put together an Angmar list with the stuff that I had available. And of course everybody is telling me I gotta use a shade, right? And I'm like, nope, not using a shade. I can't stand playing against a shade, I'm not gonna use a shade. The army has to be able to be effective without that model. Right? So basically my army was Witch King on horse with the crown, 3-12-3, I think it was. And then I took, I'm going to forget now, a Barrow White, an Orc Captain on Warg, and an Orc Captain on foot. Okay. I took tons of Orcs, 1 Cave Troll, and 3 Spectres. And that was my whole army. So it was a horde, basically, 47 models at 700 points. Yeah, it's like more than double my army. Yeah. So that's what I was going to go with and see how it worked. Oh, and I had 6 Warg Riders and 2 Wild Wargs. Oh, okay. For mobility. Yeah, it's definitely something we've talked about and realized that it's super important to have mobility, which is why I had the Riders of the Dead. They're so good. Well, because we did a little bit of a breakdown, which we haven't shared on the channel yet, but we did a little bit breakdown of all of the missions and what key components are included and how they terminate in victory points, and where mobility is required. And over half the missions require mobility if you're seriously wanting to win them. Yeah. Anyway, so just quickly go through our games. So game 1, Fog of War. Okay. Who did you play? I played Sean Trumbull. Sean Trumbull? With familiar face from our league, good guy.
He was playing Lothlorien.
He loves his elves.
Yeah, he was playing Lothlorien, and he allied in Galadriel, Lady of Light.
Okay.
So didn't use the Galadriel that was part of the list. So I guess they were allies of convenience, so he lost the army bonus.
So he took the one that had banish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, perfect.
And you have a whole army of spirit models.
First game against the guy that has the one model that like ruins me. Well, I wish I had brought a herald for the magic resist, right? So he had her, and he had Celeborn with all the upgrades, leading a bunch of like the guard guys with the pikes.
Okay, yeah.
To fight 6 ones. And then a couple elves with shields.
Are they palace guards? I forget what they're called.
Something like that.
No, Knight of Galadrim Court.
Court guard, yeah.
Court guard, yeah.
And then he had Haldir with all the upgrades, leading a bunch of guys with bows.
Okay.
So.
And how'd the game go?
It went very good for me from start to basically middle of the game. His guys just couldn't wound me. Okay. Needing 6s by 4s.
Yeah, because you're defense 8.
Yeah,
correct?
so he could win combats, but he wasn't doing anything. And then when I won, most of the time I was killing a guy here and there. Yeah, and Galadriel was just like, every turn, boop, dead guy, boop, dead guy.
Yeah.
Because it's 2+ kills a
2+ dead. Yeah.
And
it's a free point of will.
Yeah, he's using the free points of will, so that's all she did all game. She tried a couple times at the beginning against the King of the Dead to try and wound him. But with 6 will, I was just throwing...
Yeah, the fact that she's so good against that army or that particular troop, I think will keep her in the meta.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, her normal, like, -1 courage within 6 inches is good. She has blinding light, which helps.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right? So it helps with the anti-shooting.
So from what I recall, you broke him fairly.
It was an easy. Well, it wasn't fairly early, but we were fighting. I got to my. Oh, we were playing Fog of War. I don't know if you mentioned.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I got to my piece of terrain with one of my riders because I just booked him off to the side. So I had that locked down. He wasn't able to get to the one he was going for because I had basically walled off the way there. And there's a big, huge piece of terrain in the middle that was kind of like a, you either go this way or you go this way. So, yeah, it ended up that I broke him, and when I broke him, his army all of a sudden decided that they wanted to be good. And it was like, win a combat, kill my guy. Win a combat, kill my guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
often breaking elves really doesn't do a whole lot because they don't typically run away.
Yeah, well, it got to the point where we had so few models that the turns were going fast.
But you were checking to see if the game ended?
Yeah, and it didn't. It was like 1 and 2 game ends, and it wasn't. And every turn, Galadriel was just killing one of my guys. I think she killed 12 models herself, just with that, because the amount of turns we played. And in the end, it was Legolas left, untouched, I think, with no might left because I'd spent it all, and 1 Warrior of the Dead with Spear and Shield, versus Celeborn, Galadriel, and a couple elves.
Yeah. So there's hardly any models left on the table at the end.
And I killed Haldir, who was my kill target. I didn't have my terrain piece, but I broke him, and I kept my hero alive. So I kept Legolas alive for 3 points, unwounded. Killed Haldir for 3 points, so 6. And then I broke him for the 7th point because I was also broken. He had to protect Haldir, so he didn't get the points for that. He didn't get to the terrain piece, or he did get to the terrain piece, but I had Legolas in the terrain piece, so he only got 1 point for it.
Yeah.
And he broke me. And there was something else that he got points for. I can't remember. But anyway, it was...
Protecting his guy?
No, because his was Haldir.
Okay.
Oh, he had to kill the King of the Dead, that's what it was.
Okay.
And he killed the King of the Dead. So.
Yeah.
Because in that army, Legolas, or sorry, Aragorn is the leader automatically.
So you got a win in your first game?
Yep.
Alright.
That's good.
I played Jonathan, who I've played him once before. when we played at the Hood and Goblin tournament a month or so ago.
Okay.
And he came to the GT as well. Actually, I guess it was more like 2 months ago I played him there.
Yeah.
And he is playing Isengard.
Okay.
Or Uruk-hai, pretty much. He uses Sharku with Ward Riders. He had Lurtz, he had a Captain, and he had Vrasku. Pretty standard Uruk-hai army. No Ferals, had some Berserkers, and then it was either Pike, Crossbow, or Sword and Shield guys. Fairly standard, although he did include Ward Riders, which isn't, you don't always see that. First off, I screwed up, and I did check the rule, by the way, and you can't pick the other guy's leader.
You can't?
You cannot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I picked Lurtz,
oh.
like an idiot, total noob here. So I picked Lurtz as my target, just because I figured, well, he's going to be throwing him into combat, so, you know, I'll eventually kill him.
Yeah.
So that wasn't supposed to do that. And I picked one of my captain on foot to be the guy I would protect, just because I thought, well, I can leave him out of the fight and no huge loss.
Sure.
No huge loss there. And then I picked a piece of terrain, which was kind of right up the center of the table, but on his side.
Yeah.
And is that all you have to pick? Yeah.
Yeah, protect one, kill one.
Yeah, so he ended up, his choice was to kill my orc captain on foot, which was the guy I was trying to protect.
Yeah.
And he picked a piece of terrain way at the back of my side of the table. And who did he want to protect? I forget who he wanted to protect. But anyways, this game, I ended up losing the game. It was a very close game. It ended up, he got 6 points and I got 4.
Okay.
Because I got my terrain piece and I wounded my target but didn't kill him.
Okay.
And he didn't get his terrain piece, but he protected the guy that he wanted to protect, which I think, let's say it was his captain. Okay. And he killed the guy he was after, which was my captain. Okay. Yeah, but like I was an idiot in the game.
Yeah, you told me you just like threw.
Just because like my captain, I ended up putting him on my flank where there wasn't as much stuff, enemy stuff, and then I had an opportunity to like do a heroic combat and leapfrog onto his stuff and hopefully get a quick annihilation over there. And I did that, and it worked okay. Like I did reasonably well with my orcs and stuff. But eventually he got Ward Riders over there, and he got a character with might and did like he won a heroic combat and got onto my captain and killed him because he was trying to get to him because that was his target. Yeah. Right. And like because I heroic combated and then did heroic move, I used my might like really fast. Okay. So that was silly of me to do that, and it ended up costing me the game pretty well. This game for me though, because the army that I'm playing, Angmar, it's got all the tricks, the paralyze from the barrel right, the shades with their fell light is on you, and then the ring wraith casting, and orcs cause terror if they're within 3 inches of the spirit hero, I think. Yeah. All of that stuff actually worked really well, and I was trying to learn how to play it. Yeah. And against his army, which was a Courage 3 army, and they are not in any way immune to that stuff. It was actually working really well. Good. And I got the paralyze off against my target, paralyzed Lurtz, and I was able to get my troll on to him on the last game. And of course he's prone, and I didn't end up killing him. I did 1 wound to him. Okay. Kind of immediately saw the problem with the army, and it's a time issue. Yeah. And it's because orcs are terrible, but there's a lot of them to move, and they do need to do work for you. And because he had a fairly large army, like mine was 47, his was probably pushing close to 40. Yeah. Between the two of us moving, we were the last game finished. Yeah. And if we had played another turn, I'm pretty confident I would have won. Okay. no criticism there to Jonathan, but like I would have probably killed Lurtz on the following
even though
turn.
he's not the guy you're supposed to kill.
Yeah, my bad. But anyway, he was good with it, and so.
Oh.
But yeah, so right away I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a problem. The time.
Yeah.
Time. The army is like so big that it gobbles up all the time, and you can't get what you need to get done.
Time management.
So I lost that one 6-4. So game 2, seize the prize.
Yep. I played against Michael Campbell,
Mm-hmm.
friend of Sean's. I think they usually travel to the
Yeah.
events together.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
And he was playing Caladrim.
He was.
Yeah,
he was playing the dwarves.
He had Durin.
He did have Durin.
Durin and Marden.
Durin, Marden, and Shield Bearer for his heroes. They had a bunch of dwarves. Some guard, the
Vault Wardens.
Kazakh guard. He had 3 Vault Warden teams.
Yeah.
Some dwarves with bows, two-handed, shield, all the mixture stuff. Some Iron Guard, the usual stuff, right? And it was seize the prize. And I was playing against dwarves.
Yeah.
So
let me guess, you got the prize.
I did.
Yeah.
Having Aragorn with Mighty Hero and the ability to call free heroic march for 2 turns.
Yeah. Free might.
Yeah.
That's why it's expensive.
Free might got across the objective with my line of guys. The turn I got to the objective, I dug it up the first roll.
Yeah.
With a guy, and I was able to pass it off to a rider and went to book it off one side. He put some resistance up there. A whole bunch of bad stuff happened in the middle, namely Aragorn getting killed because I should have called a heroic strike 1 turn, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And it ended up costing me because I was like, well, I'll keep the might to modify my die roll.
Okay.
And every time I think to do that, I roll bad.
Comes back to bite you in the butt.
It's like 1-1-2. Oh, okay. Well, 1 might's not going to help with that. So I lost a whole bunch of wounds there, and then the next turn he killed me because it was down. So yeah, it ended up that he broke me. I had the objective. I tried to get around the side. That didn't happen, so I ran away. And I was able to get away because of getting priority and stuff. Had it in my back, and I was trying to run up the other way because he had moved all his dwarves over. Broke me, got me to 25%, but this mission ends when both players are at 25% or the objective gets off.
Yeah.
And I think I had him like 2 or 3 models away from 25%, and I had got to the far side of the table and was straight line for the table edge, but every turn I had to roll a courage test, and if I failed, I would drop the prize. Well, I got over, and just as I was about to make a break for the finish line, Chris came over and said time, so it was called. I ended up winning because I had the prize, and I think that was
the difference was a couple of victory points because you might have got him off the board.
Yeah, so I won because I had the prize.
It's
and
3 if you have it, 5 if you have it on the other side of the table, and 7 if you get it off.
Yeah.
And then there's leader, kill, and break, right?
It was like 3. It was a close game, but I had the prize, so that pretty much
usually that's what decides that game, right?
Solidifies it. Yeah. So that was it. I got to the prize first because of free might to heroic march.
Okay. So 2 wins for you.
Yeah.
Right on.
I was doing good.
I played a new player that I had never played before, and it turns out that it is somebody that is going to be bunking up with us at a tournament coming up in March.
Okay.
And it is Curtis.
Okay.
And Curtis was playing Iron Hills.
Typical new player army?
Yeah. Mostly unpainted.
Yep.
He's just starting out, so he's got all his stuff together and primed and whatever, but not painted yet. Still learning the game, so I'm fine with that. And I think he said that this was going to be his 3rd game ever. So it's like,
so
it's all good.
His 2nd game ever was the one before that.
Yeah. So he played 1 game before the tournament, basically.
Cool.
Yeah. So I ended up getting to the prize first.
Yeah.
Because I did have some cavalry. He had cavalry also. He had Dane. He had a captain on goat, I think maybe 3 more goat riders, then a whole buttload of infantry, and a twirly-whirly.
Okay, the whole twirly-whirly.
Yeah, and a handful of crossbows, 4 I think.
Okay.
And so I got there first and dug it up on the first roll.
Yep.
But he was like there right away on the second turn because he had cav as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was like this game, because of the way our troops stack up against each other, I absolutely did not want to get into a grind fight with him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, because it would just be horrible for me.
And so, your like terror line doesn't affect him because Dane makes
everybody is fearless. So yeah, my specters are useless.
Yeah.
In fact, after I realized that I had to like move all of my specters way around to the other flank where I would be outside of 12 inches, and there was a few guys there that I could affect.
Yeah.
But it was like, didn't come into effect.
I found that my terror wall with the Harbinger of Evil from the King didn't really affect my first 3 games at all.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll come back to that in the next game. So yeah, that my tricks there were useless, and because he got to me right away, and of course I'm like focusing all my attention on the sausage rocket, trying to down it so that all the big characters, you take out their mount and they're
still dangerous.
They're still dangerous, but they're less than half as effective as they are on a mount.
Yeah.
But of course, it has 2 wounds.
Yeah, and a defense of like 5.
Yeah. So I did put 1 wound on it with a black dart.
Okay.
And I forget how I did it. And the following turn, I did knock it down. Anyways, he got to me. We started fighting, and I just got drawn into a line fight with him. I couldn't avoid it because we were fighting for the prize, and the prize is that game.
Yes.
Like whoever gets the prize almost always wins the game.
Yeah.
And he just creamed me in the line fight. I did have a cave troll, and the cave troll did well, but like, orc versus Iron Guard or Iron Hills Warrior, like forget it.
Yeah.
Right. He's got a higher fight, so he's winning the fights.
He wounds you on 4 or 5.
He wounds me on a 4 or 5. And if I do happen to win a fight, I wound him on a 6. So it was pathetic, right? The orcs were just not great. My warg riders did alright, but not nearly as good as I would need them to do. They kind of more held them up than killed anything. So yeah, it was just kind of him killing my guys and me just struggling to try to use my tricks to sort of get hold of stuff. I did manage to paralyze Dane and kept him out of the fight, I think, for 2 turns, but then he revived him, put a couple guys on him, and rolled a 6.
Yeah.
So I kind of kept Dane out of the fight, but for the few turns that he was in there, he did kill a handful of guys. He ended up getting the prize and running it backwards, and that was the game. So it was a good game for him. He played a really good game. He didn't break up his line, which is very important for that army. He kept a solid line, and he kept the grind fight going.
Yep.
Right.
So
and that's what he needed to do. And so yeah, he got that one, 3-0. I had also at the end of the game, I had been trying to put a wound on Dane from distance to pick up a VP, but no, couldn't do it.
Too bad.
So Curtis took me down. His 3rd game ever, and he got a win.
Oh, so I was on 2 wins and you're on 2 losses.
2 losses, yeah.
Okay.
Game 3 was Storm the Camp. So we're playing diagonally on the table and get across the other side. Who are you playing?
Ben.
Ben Boomer?
Ben Boomer.
Okay, one of the top players in the league.
With his...
Our commissioner.
I think it's not the Grey Company.
I have a picture of his army.
Yeah. I forget what it is. Anyway, it's the one where it's got to be the Grey Company.
It's not the Ithilien.
No, it's a Grey Company because it was Aragorn with all his jazz, including the cloak. Aragorn with the cloak. Comes with free Andoril like mine. He had Legolas with armor, I believe. But he also had a bow on Aragorn too.
Okay.
And he had Gimli. And then he had the twins, Elladan and Elrohir.
Haldir with banner.
Haldir with banner. And I think the last thing was just a Ranger of the North, like the hero with one might, one will, one fate.
All on foot.
All on foot, because they can't be mounted.
Right.
It's like a little hero murder squad. And yeah, it was. So
it's only like 6 models or something like that. 6 or 7 models.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to kill 4 to break them. Didn't do that. I killed 2. Yeah, it was move up. I move up, move up, I move up. He stopped, waited for me to come into him, because this is where the whole Aragorn needed a cloak thing.
Right.
Because he fired everything he had at Aragorn with all of his bow shots. Like these 2 guys, Aragorn.
Yeah, as good as he is, he's only got 3 wounds and 3 fate.
Yeah, and he got a couple hits through, but couldn't complete the wound, except for Legolas got his like 2+ cause a wound thing, and I'm like, well, I can't have him wounded because then I'm on the back foot for points, even though it's like storm the camp, and I was gonna get to the camp like with my riders, so I rolled my fate, failed, awesome. Second fate, failed, even more awesome. Yep. And I was like, well, I can't spend my 3rd fate because then he just has free. He can just be like, okay, well, I'll might that up to cause a wound, might that up to cause a wound. So I took the wound. So I should have just taken the wound, like I said I was going to at the beginning, and saved my 3 fate. But yeah, it was that, and then we got into combat, and the guy, like his dice are just. I don't like complaining about dice rolls, but it was a lot of 6s.
Well, it's a dice game, so it happens every now and again, right?
But it was like every combat, like so many 6s. It's just. I was like, yep.
Well, when you're playing an army like that, and the guy is rolling 6s, you can't win. No. Really, because it's like it's a game of 6s. So.
Yeah, like every hero I think has 3 attacks, except for. Well, like it was most of the time he's rolling 3 dice and doing stuff like that, and I just couldn't. I couldn't convert my rolls, or I couldn't get my rolls to work in my favor. Like Aragorn, I had the King of the Dead in there, and a rider, and a spear support. Yeah. Actually, I think I had 2 spear supports. So I had all these guys against Aragorn. Okay. Free heroic strike with my might. He did the same thing. We rolled off to see who got the strike. I rolled a 1. Okay. He rolled not a 1. Yeah.
So he had high fight.
High fight. He rolled, got a 6, killed my Aragorn. Well, because he's Andoril, right? Yeah. He's like 5, 4, 3. I'll spend a point of might. Okay, well I'm dead because I have 2 wounds and a fate left. Yeah. Take him off. 2 extra might, like still on the guy. Oh. Right. So.
See, you shouldn't have blown all that fate.
I know. That's what I told myself. But he like got in my head. He's like, well. If you cause a wound, then you're on the, like, I'm in the lead, and I could just back up and hide in my zone and all this stuff. And
win
I'm like,
1-0.
Well, it's true, because he could technically have just stayed in his camp and shot at me the whole time I came across. I'm not going to break him. I'm not going to get his camp because he's in there.
Well, it's a funny army, because it's kind of similar to something we're going to talk about a little later, but when you have an army like that, when you get ahead, you can just sort of retreat. Yeah. And be like, okay, you gotta chase the game now in order to take the lead.
Yeah. I think like that tactic works to some degree. Yeah. When you're just playing win-loss and then strength of schedule. Yes. That works.
Which we were in this case.
We were in this case. Yeah. If you're playing win-loss and then victory point differential or victory points were the second tiebreaker instead of strength of schedule.
Yeah, because winning 1-0 is not going to get you.
Or if there's like a major win, minor win situation, you can't just go to wound their leader and then hide for the rest of the game type of thing, right? Yeah. So, and then the missions were like, if I had thought about it at the beginning. Before like army design, the missions we were playing really you don't need a huge force because the horde style missions weren't being used. Like,
we knew going into it that they were using missions 7 to 12.
Yeah, so the last 6.
Yeah.
But anyway, he ended up winning. I think it was like 6-0, because he broke me and killed my leader.
Okay.
And I ended up killing Halbrad and his ranger, and then I had a bunch of wounds on everything, but not Aragorn.
Right.
So it was tough. I just hate fighting against stuff that you can't. Like, all heroes rough.
It can be rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
The thing about all heroes is if you get unlucky and someone dies, it's devastating.
Yes.
Because you lose like 100 points of your 700-point army with one model down.
Yeah.
Let's say.
My focus was to get rid of Halbrad off the bat because he had the banner, which was making everybody auto pass courage checks, which was that whole like my army causing terror. Yeah, he has courage 6 or whatever on his characters, but still like. There's that chance he could fail.
Yeah.
And it was also a banner for his guys, so he was able to reroll a die. So my focus was to kill him as quickly as possible.
Right on.
And I managed to do it. But yeah, it's a strong army. Like,
his army?
Yeah. For some things, like if you know.
It's because you didn't have shooting, also.
Yeah, that was the thing. Well, I chipped a couple wounds off with Legolas, but
the thing is, like, because I've played Uruk-hai for so long.
Yeah.
Like, when I play against the twins, I always try to kill one with shooting. Because then it, like, not only do you kill one of them, but then it messes up the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, anyways. I played Chris Streets, who traveled with us. He's our buddy. And he was playing... Umbar, so Corsairs. So he had an army of Corsairs. So he had a lot of Corsairs, and he had a lot of Black Numenorians.
So he's allying in...
I don't know the army well enough.
He had to ally in Mordor then to get that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're historical.
Is it Dalamir he had as his leader?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. He had Dalamir, and he had a Ring Wraith on Fellbeast. I forget which one.
Okay.
And it was still Storm the Camp, so we were trying to go across ways.
Yeah.
So I did have cavalry, and he didn't. He had an army the same size as mine, maybe even bigger. I think he may have like 50 models.
Yeah.
And he had a lot more shooting than me. So we kind of, I used both of my might off my Orc captain to march and march again to bring me right up to the center of the table as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I left 3 guys back, he left 3 guys back in his camp. And I swung my wargs around the right flank, and there's a big castle ruin in the center, so it was kind of like that kind of thing. And over on the right flank, his wall of Black Numenorians backed up by Corsairs with spears and whatever, and you had Dalamir there. It stopped me in my tracks because of the terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like maybe 1/3 of my stuff would get off a charge.
Yeah.
Right? So that just died over there, and like not actually died, but the combat bogged down, let's say, right? I did eventually paralyze his Dalamir because I brought my Barrow White up, and I did have an opportunity a couple of times because I had like a spearman with another spearman behind him, and I won the fight once and failed to wound him, so didn't wound him. And then our lines clashed on the other side, and I was using my specters to pull guys forward, and the funny part was, so he calls one turn, he says, okay, I'm gonna heroic channel. I'm like, alright. And then it comes to the channel, he's like, okay, I'm gonna black dart your troll. I'm like, oh, okay, because it's a D3 wounds. So it goes off, it works, he rolls, he wounds, he rolls 2. So he does 2 wounds to the troll. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get this troll into combat right away because he's gonna die. So I gotta kill some stuff. So I do what you do with Angmar, okay? And that is Spectre a guy forward, charged him with the troll, right? Yeah. He killed the troll.
Oh, no way!
Yeah. It was like, oh my god. But anyway, what happened was, so we just got into like a fairly long line fight, you know, and it was back and forth. He, you know, he wasn't outclassing me too much because of my tricks and stuff. And nothing really happened between the ring race. Like, I was trying to sap his will and, you know, like the usual stuff. And it was just going to end 0-0. And so I moved my Witch King up, and I was trying to get a line of sight around the ruin at his paralyzed Dalamir so I could black dart him. But I couldn't get him far enough over, and so I dismounted. Yeah. So just so that I could see him, and then I black darted him, and I failed to wound him, and that was kind of the end of the game, and so it ended in a tie, 0-0.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was with a tournament point now.
Yeah, so 2 wins for me and a loss, and you were on 2 losses and a tie.
And a tie, yeah.
Okay.
Going into the last game, which ended up being Contest of Champions.
Yeah.
And who did you play?
Joseph.
Joseph? Who travels with Ben most of the time.
Yeah.
So you played Sean and Michael, who normally travel together, and Ben and Joseph, who normally travel together.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if they did this time, actually, because Joseph was coming from Ottawa, I think.
I didn't ask him.
Yeah.
He was playing...
he was playing Mordor, wasn't he?
Mordor and Serpent Horde.
Okay.
So his leader was the Witch King, with 323 crown on Armored Horse, leading a whole bunch of Morannons. Mm-hmm. He also had Gorebag, I think. It's the orc captain that gets +1 attack and +1 fight if he's outnumbered.
Okay.
And that's a really good.
It is.
And it was literally just Morannons, and I think he had like a couple orcs in there, but it was mostly Morannons with spear and shield, or just shield, and that's a rough deal for me. Mm-hmm. And then he had Suladan on Armored Horse. Okay. Leading...
I'm just going to write something here so I don't forget.
A bunch of Corsairs with... not Corsairs, sorry. Watchers of Karna.
Oh, yeah.
The anti-spirit model.
Why do you say it's anti-spirit model?
They have hatred spirit.
Oh,
which
really?
Is like +1 to wound spirits.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other guys, like a bunch of just...
So his champion in this was the Witch King on Armored Horse with Crown, so getting 4 attacks on a charge.
Yes, and mine was Aragorn. Mm-hmm. But I set
on foot.
I've set up Aragorn behind some of my dead. Yeah. There was a gap in between 2 of them that I had left, but I left it so it wasn't wide enough for me to fit my guy through. Yeah. Or to have a guy get through. Yeah. Like if he had a
speed bump, basically.
If he had a charged, I could have maybe got Aragorn into that fight. Yeah. With the guy. Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't just charge you
No one could get it to me. Yeah. So he got first priority, and he compelled Aragorn. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Well, can you fit through there?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. I set it up that way." So he moved me back 3 inches. Yeah. And I didn't try to resist because I'm like, "There's no point." Charged in.
It's not a lethal move, so don't bother resisting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it was just like, it was a slugfest. Like our lines clashed because we all lined up on the line. Got Suladan in, all this stuff, fighting. The turn Suladan charged in, Legolas, I will 2+ hit his horse. Okay. Because I had the King of the Dead in on him, thinking, okay, you have 1 fate, and if I wound you, you're done, right? So I'll do this. I'll take your horse out from under you.
Yeah, it's Legolas's move, right?
Yeah. So roll the 4 to hit. Roll to wound. Got a 5. Killed his horse. Okay. So I'm like, okay, Throne Rider check. Come on, do anything, and I'm good. A 1 is awesome, but I'll take a 2 to a 5. Roll a 6. Oh. So he could still fight that combat. Because anything else, you can't do anything for the rest of the turn, right?
What, like not even fight? No. Like,
I don't think. Because it says you can't do anything for the remainder of the turn. So I think you can still fight, but you can't strike.
Okay, I'm not sure.
It's something that I'd have to look up, but I think that's the way it's played out.
Okay, but he rolled a 6 regardless.
So it didn't matter. And then he like bounced off the King of the Dead, didn't do anything. Because he ended up, I think we both struck. And he won. And
well, meanwhile, how were your champions doing with their killing?
Mine was in the back,
yeah,
compelled, and his was in the back,
yeah,
casting spells.
Okay, so they weren't killing stuff and...
No, mine was, like, basically the way the game played out is, his guy stayed in the back and didn't do anything except keep Aragorn compelled away from his line.
Yeah, well, if he can keep you from killing stuff, then he doesn't need to kill stuff, and then he just removes that component from the victory point.
And he knew I was waiting with the Legolas for when he charged in to take out his horse and knock him down, so he didn't.
Yeah.
So there was, I think it was the 4th turn, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to fire at the king, like the Witch King. And then it was that debate, do I just take out his horse so he doesn't have it, or do I go for him? So I said, yeah, whatever, I'll just go for him. Rolled the hit with the 2+. Rolled to wound, got a 5. Use a point of might. Make it 6.
Did you need 6s by 4s?
6s by 4s, yeah. Roll again, got a wound on him. Okay? So I wound him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
He goes, okay, I got 3 fate.
Yeah.
First one, 1.
And he has to pass it because he only got one.
He only has 1 wound.
Yeah.
First fate, 1.
1. Can't might it.
Second fate.
Did he have only...
He had 1 might left.
1 might? Okay.
Second fate, 1. I'm like, okay.
Ooh.
Third fate, 1.
Oh! No way.
Yeah. So Legos was like,
I heard you screaming in the last game.
Like,
that must have been what it was.
I yelled out so loud. Everybody stopped what they were doing and turned around. I was so happy. Because in that game, like there's breaking and killing your leader, killing their leader.
Yeah.
Is like some
There's no leader kill, but it's your leader killing their leader. But there is break.
Yeah. And then the main objective is how many kills your leader gets.
Yeah, it's a 3-5-7, right?
Yeah. So it ended up being, he broke me. And the turn he got me to 25%, he was winning on break. But he had charged Suladan, who's still alive, into Aragorn.
Yeah.
To try and stop me from being able to go into some orcs and kill some guys. Because all I had to do with Aragorn was kill like 2 models, or even 1 model. 1 model would have been enough to get me 3 points.
Yeah.
And he sent Suladan, and so I'm like, okay, well I gotta kill him.
Yeah.
By rolling 3 wounds, and you fail his 1 fate. And if that happens, I win the game 3-2.
Yeah.
So I think he had a point in my left. We struck up. I won the strike off. Won the combat. Rolled to wound. 3 wounds. And okay, it's down to a 50-50 die roll. He rolled, got a 3. No might left.
Oh.
So I killed Suladan in 1 swipe.
Yeah.
And because I had killed a model.
You got 1.
I got 1 kill with my leader. Which was enough to give me 3 victory points. And he had 2 because he broke me.
Okay,
and I wasn't broken.
Or he wasn't broken.
Yeah.
So you won 3-2.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It came down to the 150-50 roll. So.
And killing the Witch King with an arrow from Legolas was just like a cherry on top, but not really worth anything. I guess it actually indirectly is, because then he couldn't actually get any kills with the Witch King.
Yeah.
And it has to be in combat.
It does have to be in combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was like, that's what I thought. I was like, well, I'll shoot his horse. And I'm like, well, no, what? I'll just do it, and maybe I'll pick off a fate or 2 or something like that. And
it's one of those things when you're shooting at a ring wraith. It's a lot harder to wound the ring wraith, but if you actually do it, the effects of it can be disastrous for the other guy, which is obviously evident here.
That mission, if you can get their leader killed before they do anything, even if it's just with anything.
Well, it removes 7 victory points from them. From being
all you
able
have to do with your leader is kill 2 models.
Yeah.
And you win.
Yeah. Because you get 7.
No, you get 5.
You get 5.
You have to kill 3 to get 7. But he could only ever break you for 2 points. So
well, yeah, because the other victory points are his leader kills your leader.
Or wounds him,
Yeah, but if your leader's dead, well, then you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's a good point. So, who knew? Killing the other guy's leader in Contest of Champions is a good strategy.
Yeah. So it was hilarious because I was like, I've lost this game. Like my hero's in the back because he compelled me 3 turns and I was like, well, I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to resist it because he was rolling 6s and I'm like, I'm just wasting my will. I don't want him to transfix me at a bad time and kill me.
Right? And at the end of the day, you can just march once and get right back up there.
Yeah. Well, it didn't matter because Aragorn was kind of still doing his thing. He was creating a banner effect for the spirits.
Okay.
Cool. And then I was like, okay, this turn I got to resist because I want to get into the fighting, right? So I can start killing stuff.
Yeah.
This was the turn that I killed the Witch King with Legolas, but it hadn't happened yet. So I was like, okay, well, I'll roll 2 dice to resist, and I didn't resist, and I'm like, okay, great, now I have 1 will left.
Yeah.
He's gonna do something to me and wreck me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then I killed him, so.
Okay, my turn.
Oh, your turn, yeah.
So it was at this point that I was still at the bottom of the tournament, me and Chris.
Yeah.
Because we were at the bottom of the tournament in terms of standings, and we played each other and tied 0-0. That's how pathetic we both were.
So you're both on 2 losses and a tie to each
We're
other.
both so bad that we can't beat the worst guy in the tournament.
Okay.
Sorry, Chris. I don't mean that. But anyways, so my draw for the last game was against someone with 2 losses and 1 win, and I had 2 losses and 1 tie. And it was Derek playing Smog in Contest of Champions.
What a draw to get.
Oh, I know, yeah. And like I go on about how like I can't stand Smog. I don't think it belongs in tournament play.
Yeah.
It's a scenario model, and I do believe that.
For sure.
Right. So I never played Smog before, not even in a scenario game.
Yeah.
So I kind of popped my cherry on the whole Smog thing. But it was not as bad as I was expecting. Like especially in that, and I think part of it was just because, you know, I mean, there was a chance I could have won, but in all reality, it was a lost game right from the beginning because you know, my Witch King, he only has 1 model for me to kill.
Yeah.
Right.
So if he kills 2.
Yeah. So my, like, I would have had to have killed his 1 model with my leader in order to get any victory points.
Oh yeah. No, you would.
I could have killed him with my army and got the breaking points, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was that. But anyway, he won by a mile.
Yeah.
But there was actually a glimmer of hope because I did have a barrel wipe.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember him saying after that he was afraid that.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was, first turn, he won priority. I called Heroic Channel.
With the Witch King.
With the Witch King.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, okay. So I did it, Sap Will. Okay. Cast it, and it went off. I'm trying to think what happened. He rolled his resist against it, and I think he rolled 2 dice, or maybe 1. His free one and 1 other one, I think, something like that. Failed.
Oh.
He could have mighted it to succeed, and he let me have it. And I'm like, okay. And I rolled, and it was like a 2.
Oh.
Something like that. And I was like,
yeah.
Right? I could be getting this wrong, but it was something like that.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, 3 dice, paralyze.
From the barrel.
Yeah, and I rolled it, boom, 6. And he's like, ooh! so he then threw another couple of dice, and he may have had to use a point of might, but he resisted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He spent might to stop that.
So it was like, okay, he stopped that first barrage, but I still have enough to try it again.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing happened again on the second term. I don't think I called it heroic sap will. I think I just tried to sap his will or transfix him, and it failed.
Okay.
He resisted it or whatever. And then I cast it again, paralyzed, 6. It went off again. Right? I'm like, oh, and so he rolled his resist, and I think probably had to use a point of might, stopped it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of game.
Yeah.
Right there. And I was like, well, I was still thinking, like, competitive mode, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just deny him the points for break, and I started running my guys, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, we're on the bottom table, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And victory points don't matter.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I've got 4 will left with the Witch King, and I said, there is still a chance for me to get a point.
Yes.
In the game. So I'm like, black dart. And I rolled, failed to go off. Didn't even cast. And at that point, I just was trying to charge everything at him. And he was just barging every turn like Smog does and killing like 5 or 6 guys a turn or whatever.
Yeah.
And racking up the points like nobody's business. Like, I don't even know how many models of mine he killed with them, but
yeah,
there's a lot.
Well, the barge ones don't count for the kills, but like
he only had to kill 3 models to get maximum victory.
Yeah, so it didn't matter. So he could barge and kill 5 guys, and then
so he was barging and pushing everybody back and killing them who I got in contact with, and then he would charge and always be able to contact 3.
Yeah.
Because of the oval base, like you can get into 2 and then rotate it until you hit a 3rd model, basically. And then he would get those 3, and that gets him the 7 points right there.
Yeah.
But anyways, he did end up breaking me too, so I think he got 10.
Yep.
And on the last turn, I'm like, well, I'm going to gas out the Witch King and just let him evaporate, because then he can't get the points for killing the Witch King.
Yeah.
So, my last turn with the Witch King, I threw 2 dice on a black dart. It went off, and I rolled a wound, and he didn't save it.
So you got a point.
Yeah, so I got 1 wound, 1 out of 20 on Smog, and I did get a point. So it ended up 10-1, and it was kind of interesting because it was like I kind of knew from the beginning that it was hopeless, but you know, because of the combo I had there, like if I had 2 barrel weights there, then it would have been like. It would have been a much higher potential for something horrible to happen to Smog.
Yeah, like maybe take a barrel weight instead of the orc captain.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, the thing too is that in that game, so against Dane and here's his fearless bubble.
Yeah.
And against Smog, like all my fear shenanigans were like useless.
Oh, I know. Right? Trust me.
And then the orcs, like trying to charge something that causes terror against Smog and then against the Black Numenors, just pathetic.
Well, because you're also -1.
Yeah. So it was just rough.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So trying to play Angmar without a shade and a horde of orcs, maybe it was the mission selection or the opponents, but it was not good. Yeah. Not good, but it was a good experience to learn the army, and it was too big. The army was too big for sure, and I think that's why the shade is so popular in the army, because you can actually use the orcs effectively, and you don't need as many of them because they can actually win fights.
Yeah, when your opponent's -1 to their die roll.
Yeah.
It's like fighting two-handed, but without the benefit of two-handed.
So that was it.
Yeah.
So, how did you end up doing in the event?
3 wins and a loss.
3 wins and a loss.
And my only loss was to Ben, who ended up winning.
He came in first. He did.
He was the only person to go 4-0. I think Adam, Marcel, and Ben were both on 3-0 going to the last game, so they played each other.
Okay.
And then Ben was on 2 wins and a tie. Or sorry, not Ben. Joseph was on 2 wins and a tie, but so was Ronan. Because they had tied their game, the previous one. So they were both on 2 wins and a tie. Adam and Ben were on 3 wins, and then I was on 2 wins and a loss. So I guess I could have played Joseph or Ronan, and I got paired to Joseph. And then Ronan also won his last game. So the top 3 were Ben first with 4-0, Ronan with 3 wins and a tie.
Ronan played Azog's Hunters and
Azog Legion.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, I think he had a combination of both, because he had an ogre, I believe, on his list. But then there was like a 3-way tie of people with 3 wins and a loss, and I managed to squeak it out because of strength of schedule.
Strength of schedule, yeah.
Because basically I played Ben, who won the tournament.
And Joseph was up at the top.
Yeah. Well, he was 2 wins, a tie, and a loss. So.
I won a prize also.
You did?
I did. My first ever wooden spoon award.
There you go.
Yeah. Came in last.
Yep. So it was you and Chris were tied, I think, at the bottom, but because of strength of schedule.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
because he lost his last game too, so we would have been. Yeah. Interesting.
They did best painted as well. There's a 3-way tie for the first place of that.
Yeah, one of which was yourself.
Was myself. Yep. Thank you very much. Derek with his smog.
Yeah.
And Chris Mansell, I think it's Mansell.
Mansella, yeah.
With his Iron Hills.
Which and it was nice, yeah. It was a really nice army. Yeah.
So we had a 3-way tie that way. So we all got a paint pot.
Yeah, right on.
As our prize, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got 2 paint pots or a paintbrush, and I chose the paintbrush.
Yeah, always can't go wrong with paintbrush.
I gotta remember to get that out of my case.
So yeah, it was good. They ran a good tournament.
It was fun. Yeah, I had a good time.
I really like the store too.
Yeah. It reminds me why, though, I don't like playing Horde armies, because I used to play in 40k. And it's like, you always finish your game last, you're always rushing to get to the next table, and my back, it was killing me at the end, because you're always bending over the table, because you're trying to move everything forward
the first game you guys finished, like, 15 minutes after everybody, so it was like, okay, now we had to rush to get lunch.
Yeah, we had to rush for lunch, yeah, but it was a good tournament. And Chris did mention they were going to be running it every year. I think this was the 3rd time they've run it.
Yes.
The both previous times it was at the Air Cadets Academy or whatever, so a different venue.
A little bit better at the store. I like it there.
Yeah.
Parking was free.
The other venue that they use is bigger.
Yeah.
So in that sense it was better, but this is more for gaming. So the tables were, and they didn't have to bring nearly as much terrain.
Yeah, it wasn't like a.
Plus, it's good to bring. They actually had in the store like a Lord of the Ring cardboard stand-up and stuff for sale, and so that was good. There was stuff to buy there, so hopefully people bought stuff and supported them.
Yeah, I bought some stuff. Not Lord of the Ring stuff, but.
Well, what'd you buy?
I bought something for a different game called
Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
I remember.
Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah, I managed to hold off and not buy any more stuff.
There was a lot of stuff though, like, but yeah, it was one of those things. They had the new models for Star Wars Legion for the Rebels. They had Jyn and the Rebel Pathfinders. Jyn Erso, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was tempted to buy that, but I was like, okay, I gotta hold off. Can't go spending my hobby budget.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
I liked that movie. I thought it was one of the best Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So what's coming up next in the tournament scene?
Next weekend.
Next weekend, yes. I think it's the first time ever we've had events back to back, like 1 week after the next.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so it's another one run by Lewis. This is running it, and it's at the Hooded Goblin in Georgetown, which we've been to a few times now.
I've been there twice. You've been there once.
Yeah.
Good place.
Different sort of event. First ever. Open play.
Yeah.
So, not match play. Open play.
Yep.
And it is an 80-point tournament.
Yep.
650. So open play meaning you can pretty well bring whatever you want. You can mix good and evil. You don't need to have a leader for your warband.
Still has the point value there to keep things from being super crazy.
Yeah.
But he awards, like the way they do prizing at the store is it's not based on how good you do. Well, it kind of is, but you get raffle tickets.
Yeah.
Based on winning and your place. And they're giving away more raffle tickets for doing weird things. Like if you have good and evil in your team, you get a raffle ticket.
Yeah.
If you have more than 4 factions in your team, you get a raffle ticket.
Yep.
So.
And if you win, you get 3. If you come in second, you get 2. And
so
if you
there's
come in third, you get 1.
Stuff, and then
like,
there's
a couple of other things.
Yeah.
Just best display
if you're
base.
There for the first time, you get
new player, prepaid, all this kind of stuff gives you raffle tickets. So it's kind of good. Like if you win the tournament, you have a better chance of winning something. But if you lose the tournament, you could still win something.
I think both times I've been to the event, The person that came in first place never got the first choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, just because it's like we've never experienced anything like this before. Like,
I'm going to have Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy.
Tom Bombadil with Sauron. Ooh.
And Fatty Bulger.
And Fatty Bulger, yeah.
So I'm sure we're going to see some crazy mashups.
It'll be fun just to play and see what it's all about.
Have you thought of anything to bring, or are you going, or is your work free? Or
I have the weekend off, I believe, unless something comes up. But yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah. I hope to go as well, but we'll have to wait and see. It's like it can be like this weekend was a tournament on Saturday, and then today we were at the games club all day long. So it's like, and then next weekend going to a tournament too, kind of pushing my luck a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see.
So yeah, that's the next one.
And then in end of March will be the War of the Ring Hot Lead OHA event. So we're going to that. And that's now been changed up to a singles.
Yes.
A singles event.
Single 800 points.
So I haven't made my list up. When is that due, by the way, now?
22nd of February.
It's passed.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I better get on that. Sorry about that, George.
At least I think it was it was a week after, because it was the 15th before.
Okay. Well, I don't even know when I'm taking.
It's supposed to be on Friday. Good job.
Mm. Oh well.
You're going to be forced to take something you don't want to take.
I'll just ask him what he needs, good or evil, and
that's true.
I'll take whatever they need. Just wanted to mention, I made my note, battle companies. So there's a group of guys playing at Sir Games a lot in Barrie.
Yeah.
Every Friday night. Cole and Nick and Ewan and Cameron are playing up there every Friday night. And I've been trying to get out, because I know they do battle companies in addition to other stuff. So I did actually make it out once.
Okay.
And played a couple of games with battle companies with Mordor Orc. Okay. And I remembered, because you were talking about the ability that one Orc Gorbag or whatever has, you get +1 fight and +1 attack if you're outnumbered. Yeah. Yeah, because that's my battle company special rule.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for my team. So if I ever get it, my heroes will get that. So,
cool.
So that'll be good. So yeah, I should be able to make it back. I'm going to try to go about every 3 weeks, because that's when my schedule kind of will allow it.
Sure.
So, and then for them, they can just hopefully play battle companies on the days that I can come. So if you're in the Barrie area and you're free, Sir Games a lot.
Yep. He's got tables to play on, and there's a group of guys that are up there, so
yeah,
give it a go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to talk about
bingo.
Bingo. It's a bingo.
It's a bingo. We got our sheet, so we filled it out before. You did a lot better than me this time around. I got some kind of like Klingon here.
Oh, it's like a string or something?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you can see this.
I'll post a picture of it.
Okay.
It's easier than...
So, we're going to put down here so we can easily see it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, for me, this update, I've finished a good army of at least 600 points.
No, you did that last time. It's this one.
Oh, is it this the dots?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a different thing. Okay, so I painted a new version of a model I already own.
Who's that?
Legolas.
Oh, for your for your army.
So I did that.
Okay.
I watched the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, extended edition.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay. When did you do that?
Well, it was over a course of like 2 weeks.
All right. Fair enough.
I don't know. While I was cleaning mold lines and building bases for guys, it was just on in the background, so I watched it.
Yeah.
And then I played a game using an army I've never used before, which is yesterday I played 4 games with the Army of the Dead, Legendary Legion, or Return of the King, whatever it's called. So yeah, I just added 3 new things to my bingo card.
You did way better than me. I only got 1, and that was finish an evil army of at least 600 points, which was the one I used yesterday.
Okay.
So I got that one. I also could have included paint a model for an army you don't currently play, because I had never painted or played that army.
Yeah.
And I painted a whole bunch of orcs, but because they counted for this other box, you can't count them for that box. But you know, I did work on. I watched 2 out of 3 of the Hobbit movies, so working on that. And then of course we played 4 missions yesterday, so there's a box here. Play all of the match play scenarios. So I've played 8 out of the 12 so far now. And
we're both the same.
You've played 1 more tournament than me because you went to the Hooded Goblin the one time that I didn't go. So I don't know if you played any other ones.
We played scenarios that we've played before. So.
Yeah, and I also did convert a model, one of my orcs, but again it counted for finishing evil army, so I didn't count it. So lots of time. So we'll continue.
The buy and build the model in 48
hours? There's going to be a couple. You know, let's face it. The one that's going to be right at the very end is read a book.
That's true.
That one's going to be the last one for both of us, and it's not going to get done unless we can count audiobooks. In which case, I'll knock it off like that because of.
I drive a lot for work too.
Yeah, I listen to them all the time.
I listen to so many podcasts at work. While I'm driving from job to job, that I could easily put on audiobook.
Like audiobooks, like I pretty well, because my wife works at a library, I get the unabridged audio of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings pretty well every year and listen to it on my commute.
Yeah, because you're like an hour to work and an hour home, so.
Yeah, more now. It's like. Especially in winter, it's like it takes a lot longer. But anyway.
Yeah, so that's our updated
that's
bingo.
The bingo update.
That's the bingo.
Yeah. So now we go to the Flotsam.
And Jetsam.
Indeed.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about the new meta.
Yes.
Dun dun dun. So first off, has the new meta revealed itself yet? It's still early. I mean, what are we, 6 months since the new books came out and that?
Meta's like a constantly evolving thing.
It is. It
constantly
does shift.
Changing.
Because kind of as soon as it's identified, it starts to change.
Well, this thing becomes popular and super high, and then, hey, guess what? We designed this thing to beat that, and it knocks it out of place. Yeah. And it's this constant leapfrogging of...
Yeah, and there is also, in any game, including Lord of the Rings, there is kind of a, I've forgotten the expression now, rock, paper, scissors thing going on. And it's kind of outside the meta, whereas like certain missions or army combinations sort of automatically win or lose against other ones.
Yes.
So that is definitely part of, I don't know if I'd say the meta, but it's part of the scene or whatever. But the other part too is that, you know, we saw in The Hobbit, they had a lot more lists that I would call cookie cutter.
Okay.
So for example, like Azog's Legion is one of the few lists in The Hobbit that is not a cookie cutter list.
Yeah. Because
there's a lot of troop choice available. You can build an army in a different way between 3 different people and play a different army of Azog's Legion.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most of the armies in The Hobbit are cookie cutters. And it doesn't really matter who you are playing, like what player, but the army looks, 90% the same every time you play against it, regardless of who is playing it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what a cookie cutter army
I think
is.
The new rules have kind of led into that, though.
Yeah. Because
certain models for that army are almost an auto-include. Well,
that's the thing, like, as far as the old rules go.
Sure.
Right? I would say, like, this isn't a complete list, but you have the Fellowship, the Shire, Thorin's Company, Dark Powers of Dol Guldur, Survivors of Lake Town, Goblin Town, and there's more. But, like, those are all examples of cookie cutter lists, and you play that army, and whether you're playing this guy or that guy, the army is pretty well the same.
Yeah.
Right? But now, because the armies have changed a lot in the Lord of the Rings to introduce the army special rules, and of course the profiles have changed dramatically for some characters. Like, there's been a few armies that are kind of been added to that list, I would think.
Yep. Like with the new ones, you mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, well, definitely, the first one that stands out is Barad-dûr.
Yeah.
Like,
so they've kind of taken what was before Mordor and like taken Barad-dûr out of it, and it's basically, okay, this is the list if you want to play Sauron.
Yeah, so Sauron, and then his rule is like, you can have 24 guys in his warband, so you just like take a bunch of orcs, and the idea with that list is you don't care if your orcs die. It's all on Sauron. And,
well, because of the army special rule.
Yeah, which is they don't count as being broken until Sauron's got 2 wounds left. But if he dies, they're considered broken. Yeah. So it kind of...
So you can actually bring the model to, or army below 50%, but they don't count as broken.
Yeah. You could bring it down to just Sauron left. And as long as he's not wounded 3 times, the army's not broken.
And so what does that mean? It means every time you play against Sauron now, he's surrounded by 50 orcs.
Yeah.
And an orc captain or 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like, you know, a fight in a muddy field where you're just trying to chop through all of these orcs to get to Sauron, to put multiple wounds on him, to try to break him. And, you know, every time you're going to play against Sauron now, that's what you're playing against.
Yeah.
Unless it's a weird comp for the tournament.
Yeah, but that's the way that list is gonna, like, they have tons of options you can pick, but you're always just gonna do that.
Well, that's why you're playing that list, is you play that list if you're playing Sauron.
Yeah.
If you're not playing Sauron, then you don't play Barad-dûr, you play Mordor.
Yeah, which is the same army.
Yeah.
Except instead of Sauron, you get the named ring wraiths.
Yeah. So that's one example. Any others?
Well, like a big one would be the model that got like seriously overhauled this edition, which is the Balrog.
Moria.
Yeah. 'Cause he's like...
Similar kind of situation.
He's lost 50 points, so he's cheaper, and he makes our army so much better.
Well, I mean, he got the free heroic combat, which is huge. The whip thing changed, and he got like this gargantuan awesome special rule.
Yeah.
Which is what the goblins don't break if they're within 12 inches of
auto pass courage.
Auto pass courage.
Which is like, basically if he's around, they have fury on them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, so, there's another one. Like, I mean, if you're going to be playing a Moria army, we've already seen it.
Yeah.
We've already seen it. And, like, we're talking not even in just our local scene, but in the international scene and on podcasts and all that.
Moria's always going to have a Balrog.
And not only that, it's competitive. It's a very competitive army, right? But it's kind of turned into a cookie cutter army. Anybody playing Moria now is taking a Balrog, unless it's like a really low point event.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame.
Yeah. But it's thematic and
the whole point of this little part of the discussion is that all of these kind of armies fall outside of the meta.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're always going to encounter someone who wants to bring the Fellowship, or wants to bring a Balrog, or wants to bring Thorin's Company, or whatever. And these are armies that are outside of the competitive meta. Because they're a thematic build. And because they're a thematic build, they need to be built in this way. And these changes to profiles and special army rules emphasize the thematic side of it. So it's going to result in very similar armies when you encounter that faction.
Yeah.
Okay, So having said that, all of the other armies that aren't included in those, in terms of a competitive meta, do you think we have sort of identified? Well, I know we have, but what do you say to that? What do you think the new meta is? We both agree what we think it is.
It's mounted heroes.
It's mounted heroes.
Doesn't even have to be lance heroes like before. Just mounted heroes.
Yeah, and so we've
more specifically mounted heroes that have free heroic combats,
or like 3 might even.
Yeah.
Or more than 3 might.
Yeah.
And we've kind of coined the phrase hero shock.
Yeah.
To sort of define that meta.
Because you're just like spamming heroes that are mounted, charge them in, wipe out as many guys as you possibly can, as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Try and break the opponent.
Yeah. So it's kind of like in warfare, you know, you hear about shock troops.
Yeah.
And so shock troops are designed to hit a specific part of the enemy line and pierce it, basically, or devastate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what this is. It's like a small group of heroes acting as shock troops and impacting on the enemy army. And then what happens? How does it work? Like, why is that a thing?
Because you just like, because the heroes have high fight. A lot of the time they're gonna have higher fight value than the infantry they're fighting.
Yeah.
They're mounted, so when they roll to attack, they get extra dice for being mounted. They're going to knock the guys down, which will double their amount of dice to kill something. Most of the time, they're going to be killing stuff on a 5+ with like 6 to 8 dice to wound. So you're more than likely going to kill the stuff you're fighting, but you always call heroic combat.
Yeah.
And then you just move into 2 more guys.
Yeah. And then what you do is you keep them all together in a cluster, so that when you lose priority, one of them can call a heroic move and all of them react to it.
Yeah, and then you're charging again.
Yeah. So the mounted part of it is important not only for like the knockdown, but for the mobility part, so that you can actually like move quickly to a flank and attack before the other guy's army can react. Like, so if you're fighting a typical combined force army with infantry and a bit of cavalry and, you know, this and that.
Most of the time it's 2 heroes leading a bunch of guys.
What happens is that force of rapid moving heroes can move to a position at one end of your army and start attacking you. And in order to stop it, you basically have to bring your entire army to bear on it. And you can't move fast enough to do it.
No, because
with a typical combined forces army. So we're talking about this kind of strategy works against a typical build.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it all over the place already. And you know, we used to see this. This kind of became a thing in the old rules with fell beasts, ring wraiths on fell beasts.
Yeah.
And that's really what it kind of was. It was more complicated because of the magic, so it wasn't just hero shock.
Yeah.
But the fell beasts were being taken for their speed.
Yep.
So their ability to move over things, move quickly together, and attack a certain part of the army in combination with each other.
Usually it's the end of the lines.
Yeah.
And then you'd hurl those guys through stuff.
Yeah.
And heroic combat, because that guy would more than likely die, into something else, which you would also hurl.
So that's why I say it was slightly different than just hero shock, because you were using the fell beast's hurl and the fact that it was a monster and it's knockdown and all that, and the magic transfix, compel, all of that, which most hero shock armies now don't have. But what ended up kind of happening was that I think the rules writers kind of addressed that whole thing with the Fell Beast army, and they didn't really honestly touch the Fell Beasts.
No.
but they changed the rules surrounding monsters and brutal power attacks to really mitigate that.
Yes.
That build.
Well, hurling in general was...
Well, hurling now is less than half as good as it was before.
Yeah.
Right? Because it goes half as far, and its directionality is far less
and you can't
free.
You can't like pinball down their line
Yeah.
and have your line stand up and kill their line.
Yeah, you can't just
down.
knock down their stuff. You knock everything in the combat down now. So
Yeah.
so kind of what happened was they sort of stopped an army that was kind of the old Hero Shock army from being able to do it.
Yeah.
But now that they've made all those changes, there are new Hero Shock armies.
Yeah.
Because like heroes are now the thing in Middle-Earth strategy battle game.
Well,
they've kind of opened the door now for other things to take the place of the ring wraiths on fell beasts.
My view on it is magic's not as powerful as it used to be.
Yeah.
Most ring wraiths don't have the ability to heroic strike, so their fight 5 really limits their ability to do anything.
Yeah.
Because before you'd fly up, transfix the guy you want to kill, 2 fell beasts on him. You're gonna have higher fight than him.
Yeah.
You win the fight, you kill him.
Yeah.
With 2 fell beasts. That's it. Now it's like you transfix him, well his fight's still high. You're in combat with him, it's great that he's transfixed. He has a higher fight than you, you can't strike up to pass him. So it's just based on who rolls better.
Yeah,
right?
and transfixing doesn't just auto kill somebody.
It doesn't anymore. You get heroically channeled to do it, but
but that's using up your might, which you don't want to do.
Yeah, so in the old way it was done, people were reluctant to take a big hero because 2 fell beasts or even 1 fell beast would just shut it down.
Yeah.
And kill it, and then you just wasted all these points.
Yeah.
So people would have big armies to compensate for that. Well, now that that's not the case, people are like, hey, we can start taking these big named heroes.
Yeah.
So it's done this huge shift.
Well, not only that, but other reasons why people didn't take heroes was because they were so easily dismounted before.
True.
Right, and now it's much more. It's you can still obviously dismount heroes.
Yeah, and
right, but you don't see nearly as many being dismounted because of Sorcerous Blast or Hurl now.
True.
It's far less than before.
The other thing is not everybody has the option or the ability to heroic strike, so you don't have a captain running into like some unnamed captain, Tim.
Yeah.
Running in and fighting against like Aragorn.
Yeah, and I'll strike.
And I'll strike up. And, oh, by the way, you're transfixed.
Yeah, so they've made it so that your heroes can be heroic and thematic and actually be awesome in the game. But
so,
now this is actually driving the new meta.
Yes, because you've limited something else, and so something else has taken its place. Yeah. And in this case, it's heroes.
It's the same thing. It just doesn't look like a ring wraith on a fell beast anymore.
Yeah.
So what's an example of a hero shock?
There's lots.
Okay, name one.
Well, the last Hooded Goblin tournament is like the best example that I've seen so far, and it's Champions of Erebor on goats. So you got Thorn, King Under the Mountain.
Comes with a great special rule.
Which is free hero combat. On a goat. Dwalin on a goat.
Which also can knock people down before the fight even starts.
Which is, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Their speed's a little bit limited.
Well, 3 might.
Yeah. And then Keely and Feely.
3 might.
So you've got these 4 heroes that are all mounted on things that can headbutt you down.
Yeah.
So they'll know before the combat even happens if they have to worry about taking a wound. So, like, technically you could knock the guy down, and if they're a hero, you could just be like, I'll save my might and...
Yeah. And what happens, too, when you have these heroes on mounts, especially with the bigger heroes, you always charge more than one guy.
For sure.
Right? Like, my army that I played yesterday was this horde of orcs, right? So if those 4 heroes charged my flank, each one of them would be charging 2 orcs and probably kill all 8 orcs on the initial charge and heroic combat into 8 more orcs and kill some of those 8 more orcs, maybe not all of them. So like when you're talking about that, you have a potential, it's not going to happen, but you have a potential of killing 16 models in 1 turn.
Yeah.
Right? And then what happens? So let's say you don't kill 16 models. Let's say you kill 11 models.
Because you'll spend might in the first
combats. And you spend might, and then you lose priority the next turn. But let's say they don't have a hero to contest the heroic combat you're going to call.
Heroic move.
A heroic move, right? Yeah. And then you get another charge, okay? And then the same thing happens again. And meanwhile, I'm trying to move my army over to deal with it, okay? Yeah. And another 11 guys die. Okay, well, I've now lost 22 models in 2 turns. Maybe we're being a little over the top with it, but that's kind of the potential of what can happen, and we've seen it happen before many times.
There's not a lot of armies that can not be broken because of that.
No.
And all this is happening, and the rest of their army is going towards the objective.
Yeah.
Like, and even your army, while you're being attacked by this, you kind of want to be trying to go for the objective.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's domination. I gotta still sort of play the mission.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you got this tiger on your tail, like chewing your army apart.
So that's one example. But you have like, you can do like the other big huge one is the Rivendell elf hero.
Yeah, like Glorfindel, the twins. They've got so much. They've got so many to pick from.
Like that right there is enough that it's gonna ruin anybody's day.
And like the list goes on, right? Like even Minas Tirith can do it effectively.
Like Aragorn mounted.
And some of these builds, like they'll include like a mounted captain with a lance and shield, and also possibly include some warrior cavalry to like guard the flanks in case they do lose a priority.
Yeah, just to keep them from getting countercharged.
Yeah, so you lose a priority or a heroic move off, and you get charged. Well, it means you have to survive that turn of combat and maybe use up some of your might to do it. But having warriors on your flank, you can just let them die.
Yeah.
If they're going to die, and your heroes are still up, and you can still get a charge again next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's more. Like in the new book where we see the what do you call those armies? The legendary legions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the one of the really oh my god.
Like that's designed as a hero shock.
That is actually sort of the epitome almost of a hero shock list. It's kind of been built to do that.
Everything's mounted.
Yeah, and like with the new heroes that they've added, they're all good at that, like 3 might and mounted and.
You charge in, first turn of the charge. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to use this ability that gives all of my guys
free heroic combat.
So
heroic combat's all around.
Yeah. And a couple, like you say, a couple turns of getting a heroic combat with enough people off. It's hard to recover. Like if you're broken on the 3rd turn because of being smashed by cavalry for the last 2 turns, like it's hard to recover from that.
So the thing too is that the games with these kind of armies can be really fast.
Yes.
Because the guy that's playing that army does not have to bring the rest of his army into combat.
No.
And even if you do, like Iron Hills is a great example, because you just have to push against the other guy's troops with your shielding dwarves or whatever. You don't even have to kill anything with them. Yeah. You're just basically there as we call the wet blanket. Basically, you have enough troops just to wet blanket the other guy's army and just hold it in position while your hero shock just destroys it from the flank.
Yeah.
Right? And it works really well.
Well, it's what Drew used, like all last edition with his Felbeast. He'd have 30 orcs just sitting there shielding.
Yeah.
While his Felbeast did all the work.
And Shelob too, not just Drew, but like that's why Shelob was and still is good, but not like she was, but you know, because it's a fast model that can get into position and then just join in on that kind of mayhem.
Yeah.
and just devour a flank of an army. And before you know what's happening, you're broken.
Yeah.
And the game's over.
It's like, oh, I'm losing a couple guys here, a couple guys there, and then it's like, well, 2 or 3 turns of that, and yeah, so.
The funny thing is, this whole thing is almost entirely a good army build and not an evil army build.
Yeah.
Like Azog's Hunters is one of the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head that can do hero shock like this. And good is made even better at it because of the ally matrix. Because evil, basically, there's no green allies. Hardly. They're so limited on the evil side.
Yeah, Mordor is the most flexible. But yeah.
Yeah, compare good to evil, there's no comparison.
No, no.
Right? So on the good side, like once you even, like we're just talking about pure faction here. But when you start talking about bringing in allies, you know, the sky's the limit kind of on on picking what you wanted to use.
Rivendell, you could add in Numenor and take Elendil and...
Well, Numenor, like now that you mention it, is another army. Like they've gotten so much better in the new edition than they are before. You know, like they've moved up pretty well to almost like a top tier army, if not top tier.
Yes. From
wherever they were in mid tier obscurity before.
Yeah.
And they can do hero shock.
Yep.
You know,
just take captains.
They got to take a couple captains mounted with lances and shields, you know, but they can do it just as good as anyone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hero shock.
So does this mean, like we've kind of we haven't really seen it so far in our league and in our immediate area. But we kind of think that the number of good armies are going to start outweighing evil because of this.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that so far in like the 3 or 4 tournaments since the new edition, or however many, we haven't really seen, like the last tournament we went to yesterday, it was 9-9, good evil.
Yeah, it was an even split.
It was even, right? But I think it's mostly because it takes time for people
are still trying to figure it out.
People are trying to figure it out, and then they got to get the models and paint the models and build the armies and whatever. But I think this is the way the meta is heading. If it doesn't, then I'll be surprised. You can see it already happening. It hasn't quite sort of hit the saturation point yet. But so the new thing is going to be, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. We've already been talking about it.
Yeah. So
we're not going to say anything because we don't want anybody to know our secrets.
That's right.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Yeah, well, basically it comes down to trying to find models or strategies that can deal with, like, with a hero shock.
Yeah.
Right? And
what's good at stopping that?
It's not easy.
No, because we've talked about it for hours.
It's not easy. But it is possible.
Yeah.
And some armies will just stop it, given like a certain deployment or a mission, or like you get a couple of good rounds of shooting into a cluster of mounted heroes and it can shut it down.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you take the mounts away, it's a game changer.
Well, like I experienced it yesterday. I took out Suladin's horse, the first combat.
Yeah.
And it was like the guy instantly loses huge combat potential because of it.
Like I always say, my own thing on that is, take away a hero's horse and they're like about 40% as good as they were before. Right? They're still good, but they're not nearly as good as they are with a horse.
Yeah.
Right? Because getting knocked down, getting twice as many attacks put on you.
Well, it goes from
like
maybe being able to kill something to guaranteeing that it's going to die.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So that's what we think is the new meta. Hero shock.
It's evolving into that.
It is.
Now we told everybody, now they're going to do it.
It's happening whether we tell it or not.
I know.
And we're not the first people, I'm sure, to figure it out.
Everyone else has just been quiet about it. Whatever.
Yeah.
We spilled the beans.
Beans spilled.
People are yelling at their screen right now. Yeah. You idiots! Why are you telling people this? But it's like, it's that whole that Incredibles with Syndrome or whatever his name is. Is like, I'm gonna give all these people super powered gadgets, and when everybody's super, no one's super.
Nobody's super.
So anymore. It's like, what stops Hero Shock? Hero Shock.
Anti-Hero Shock.
Well, no, but if you have Hero Shock and they have Hero Shock...
Well, see, that's the thing, is...
Whose Hero Shock is better?
Well, so, sort of Hero Shock, if you're building a Hero Shock army, you're relying on the principle that the other guy is taking...
A normal list.
He's taking a combined arms list, a typical build, and the Hero Shock will work against it, right? But like, what happens if your opponent is playing like all-mounted Rohan? Well, it's a lot harder to make that Hero Shock work when the other guy won't stand still for you to attack him. Yeah. Right?
Oh, so run away from you and shoot you with my bows.
So like that kind of thing, it stops it, right? So, you know, we may see more stuff like that quickly.
Or just stuff that has an easy time taking out mounts. Like, I know Hurl's a lot harder to do it now, but I don't know. Yeah. Like you get catapults or...
Monsters are still good at it because you can still hurl into combats. Like, the thing now is, if you can get a monster and hurl a guy that you're fighting just into a huge combat and knock everything down, well, it dismounts all the heroes. So like that kind of thing is still really effective. Shooting is still really effective. Yeah. Having stuff that even good heroes will bounce off is good, because if you can stop a hero from a turn, you know, you're potentially like, if you stop a hero mounted for one turn, you're potentially not losing 4 warriors from that one hero being stopped. So like if 4 heroes mounted charge in and you transfix one of them, well, there's 4 guys' lives you probably just saved. Yeah. Right? And now that attack is only 75% as good as it was going to be. Right? And then maybe you can use, you know, something to take out one of the other horses, and now that guy's not going to knock everybody down, and he may not even kill both of the guys that he charges. Yeah. So it's like all of this kind of stuff that you have to do to sort of mitigate that massive hero shock from working. Exactly. But if you don't, it's going to work. Right? Because we've seen it happen so many times.
Well, let's wait and see. We figure that's the way it's going. Yeah. Maybe it'll be like that for a while, and then people will start to bring stuff that counters it, so people will stop. And it's that leapfrogging, right?
And we'll see too, like maybe, I'm not sure if the plan is to continue to bring out Legendary Legions, like we've seen the Gondor book come out, and a whole cluster of Legendary Legions being released, so I'm not sure what the next area of Middle-Earth is going to be, or if there's going to be another book like that, and if there's going to be more Legendary Legions, and who knows what they would be. Or what they would include. Maybe they'll add to Hero Shock, maybe they'll take away, or be something that can mitigate it. We'll see.
Maybe.
Well, I think that's it for another episode. Unless you have anything else.
Yeah. Hopefully it's recorded all this. The red light's on. That's always my biggest fear, is that it's not recording.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. I enjoy talking about this kind of thing and getting our opinions out to the people and letting them know about the events we go to and that. So
yeah, because we do have a very active community here. You know, our league is what are we in, our 4th or 5th year now? So fifth year. Our 5th season. We've kind of settled into regular 12 tournaments a year. Yep. Of course, we go to other tournaments run by other stores and other groups that are outside of our league.
Big events like the national events and the international
Nova,
events.
Articon. I haven't been to Articon yet, but hopefully one day. But this is the kind of thing that we think about. Hero Shock. Right on.
Okay.
All right, well, you know, get your toy soldiers out and come and play some games with us at the OSBGL, and you can learn about things like Hero Shock and you know other crazy
listen
things.
To us ramble on about it
and watch me win a wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Coming last, because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, I did better at the last event. I went 3 wins and a tie. This time was 3 losses and a tie. Who knew? Yeah. It all evens out in the end, you know.
50-50.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.